Okay, Tuesday edition of the After Show. Got Wink and Justice with you. Wink over here on the East Coast.
And Justice on the West Coast of the contiguous United States of America. It is Red Sky at Morning Tuesdays.
Yeah.
On the After Show, there's a red sky somewhere in the world. And I don't know. We're getting a lot of them here in the North American U.S. part
of
the hemisphere. Oh, Wink.
Yeah, it continues.
It's hard. I got to tell you, man, it's hard being a Boy Scout out there.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
Oh, boy. Boy, I don't know. A lot of people are saying, the Boy Scouts, the Boy Scouts, the Boy Scouts. Oh, the poor Boy Scouts. But we got some stories about Boy Scouts. But before we get into that, how are you?
Not bad, not bad. It is 59 degrees, 59, a little on the nippy side this morning, but and it's a little gloomy out there too, so I guess we're going to have one of those kind of days, but the rest of the week looks pretty good. It looks halfway decent, so we'll go with that. Mind you, get in the chat, just go to netrootsradio.com, scroll down the bottom of the page, and on the right-hand side of the bottom of the page, there is a link to the chat. So click that, join us there.
And on the left side at the bottom of the page, well, to the left-ish of the chat room link at the bottom of the page are the contribute and donate buttons, and they are deftly located to subliminally induce you to, part with your money because it is for a good cause. It's not like we're carnival barkers out here just trying to, get some rubes to pitch pennies at a dish that they'll never win the little cheapo bear anyway.
Exactly.
We're not like that. So if you listen to the right wing, you'd think that maybe that's what they think we are. But no.
Yeah.
We are imbued with the responsibility of a higher cause. We being all of us.
Indeed.
So thank you for your generosity and allowing the resistance to pay their bills, and it keeps the guys running the Matrix off our backs.
Yes, indeed.
Money doesn't only talk; it swears, it buys silence, it does a lot of things. It keeps them off your back. Once you stop paying, then boy, it's like shark to blood.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, here along the banks of the Rogue River. Oh, before I get into that, yes, podcasts can be had by the raw data file shortly after the beginning and end of the show by way of Spreaker, and Wink will post that. And then later on, he'll post the perfected daily file, the PDF, by way of Podbeans, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, and where all fabulous and respected podcasts can be found.
Indeed.
The selected few million. And we are one of them. Gee. Okay. Here along the banks of the Rogue River in the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon, it is currently, it's going up. It's 70 degrees already here at 8:06 in the morning. And we will be nearly the same as yesterday. We'll have a low tonight of 67, which I consider to be, almost being ungodly warm for nighttime. Rest.
Heck yeah.
One never likes to sweat in bed. I used to, that was the other thing I hated about living in the desert, Wink. Because there was a time where I thought, I got this air conditioner, but I'm not going to use it because that's what they would use.
Right.
And you didn't do what they did. You live naturally, right? Adapt to the elements.
Indeed.
Man, oh man. I think the desert will convince you that we better advance ourselves so that we can manipulate the environment, at least in a contained little room, so that, you can cool down. Oh boy. Well. Okay, so that's pretty warm at night. Once it gets up to 72, I don't know, and muggy and humid, it'll be like living in Paris at this time of year. That's why everybody goes to the frontier. They go out to the beach, the coast. Get out of that heat.
Yes.
Not just heat, but oppressively sticky, muggy, close. You feel like you're being suffocated by it. You know what I'm talking about. Well, let's see. We will be in the mid-90s for the foreseeable future. Oh, we did have a little bit of rain that fell. I mean, just not much. I mean, it's hard for me to call it rain because it didn't really pour.
Right.
But big drops. There were some spaces between the drops, but, it wet everything.
Yes.
But they were big drops, and this was a system that was forming up in the Cascades to give the Cascades its thunderstorms and lightning in which to cause fires. Jeez.
Yeah.
Now, I did speak about karma the other day, saying, hey, karma's not like good or bad luck. It's not like, some sort of retribution, you get good karma back. And karma just is. But I could see where people would go, wow, something's mad at us. Mad at us in a, thunderous fashion.
Right.
So, yes, we will have a stray shower or thunderstorm possible today. And we'll see. Starting to get burned off right now. When you're at 70 degrees at 8 o'clock in the morning, eek. And as I mentioned, we will be 67 tonight with another chance of stray showers or thunderstorms. Winds today will be out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10 miles an hour, and the northwest tonight at 5-10 miles per hour. 5 to 10 miles per hour. Okay, weather from around the world is brought to you by People's Weather Stations from around the world. Okay, it looks like London is 71 and overcast. Paris is 65 and overcast. Rome is 80 and clear with they're under a wind and thunderstorm advisory as well. Kiev is 86 and clear. Kabul is 95 and clear. I don't know, if you're in a wedding party, I'd stay in. Don't go out. Hong Kong, 80 and clear. Tokyo is 85 and overcast. Sydney, Australia, they're having their wintertime season now, and they are at 61 and clear. Ooh. San Francisco is 58 and overcast. If you're in Australia and you want to have winter and it's not happening for you right now, go to San Francisco. Okay. That's what you got to do. And of course, New York is 64 and overcast. Ooh. And that is weather brought to you by People's Weather Stations from around the world, which gives us weather from around the world.
Yeah.
Okay. I was a Boy Scout. I mentioned that just recently here, and it's weird that there's certain things that happen during the year, and there's, I guess, the equivalent of a muscle memory. Like I still have, after all this time, that muscle memory of right now is the time of year when we started getting in shape for football.
Right. Yep.
And I still have that. When track season would come up, of course, track, I pretty much, had a running regimen all year round. But it was the field events that I started, practicing more at and stuff. And there was a certain time of year that happened. And I still get that kind of like little thing, like I've got to go and do a particular activity to promote this other activity. And I still get that around the time of the Boy Scout Jamboree, of all things. And that's from like way early in my childhood. I was a Life Scout, but and I had aspirations to be an Eagle Scout. But I don't know. I was marching to end the war more than wanting to be an Eagle Scout at that point.
Right.
So
yep.
Now I have to say, this is another thing I was reminded of, because I didn't really forget it, but it wasn't really top on my memory list for some reason. But we, meaning my family and I, took the Boy Scouts in Southern California to court, and the ACLU helped us because I don't know what got into my head. I it might have been protesting the war. And this is like 66. And they didn't want to let me in Boy Scouts because, or actually what they wanted to do was kick me out.
Right.
Because I wouldn't pledge allegiance to the flag.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of a big thing about the Boy Scouts, right? But as I said back in the day, I go, sometimes Boy Scouts, if you listen a little closely, it also rhymes with brown shirts. So the readiness in which all these kids were, I don't know, they were little Trump Jungen, Nazi Jungen, the Nazi youth. USA. How easily, when you're forming your moral code and structure, how easily that can be manipulated into some sort of martial call. What Trump did was not only irresponsible, it was un-American. Yeah, it was. Because that's how I got to tell you.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't only resonate. This is exactly what happened in Nazi Germany. The Boy Scouts, which actually, there was a kind of a Teutonic beginning of the Boy Scouts. We all think of it as being in Britain and such. Or maybe it was a Scottish guy. But it resonated, with the Germans. Because, they had their kindergarten thing going on. Noble, right?
Okay.
But with the rise of Nazism and the blending of fascism across the continent with it, some of the first youth groups to take part were the Boy Scouts. Ready-made brown shirts. It can't happen here. Well, fortunately, those Boy Scouts also have parents.
Yeah.
Who may not hold the same code, shall we say. They like the idea that their kids are out of the house for the summer and they're camping and stuff, and it's cheaper than than sending them up to a camp. sometimes. And I think that that's where it's a little bit different. Because I don't think there was just enough sheer numbers in, say, Germany. They didn't, because you didn't question authority. Yeah, this guy was rising into power and stuff, but he's, things are working, right? We're not disrespected in the world anymore. Remember that one?
Yep.
So, yeah, so I almost forgot about that. Oh, yeah, that was the first time that, like the ACLU, did something for me. Because the next big one was the impeach Nixon rally in what is now the Nixon Library grounds. Don't ask me why we decided that. If you're going to make a splash, might as well do it right on the doorstep, right, Wink?
Why
right
not?
on their doorstep. I mean, there's people right now on Congress Critters' doorstep saying, "You're going to kill me?" And they're like little kids in wheelchairs and stuff, Jesus. I guess so. Well, in spite of that, they continue, okay? And we're going to keep up with them, and these are the issues that we will be attending to today. They are Republican congressmen move to defund the Congressional Budget Office for making Trump care look bad. CBO keeps coming out with a score, and they're going, well, wait a second. We say 2 + 2 is 5. You say 2 + 2 is 4. That's just your opinion. Okay, so get rid of them. That's what you do. The Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court ruled that local law enforcement in the state have no legal right to detain immigrants for Trump to deport. Okay, well, we'll see what happens when the Gestapo catches up with them.
Exactly.
And, of course, Trump is just leveling the playing field by insisting that if Sessions wants to keep his job, he better open some investigations into Hillary and her family. I don't know. I'm afraid that what we're actually experiencing, Wink, is kind of like TED TV or, the other one where, there's hidden cameras and they just follow this guy through his day-to-day existence.
Yep, there you go.
And this is all just, like pretty soon they're going to go, okay, we can put this into syndication now. Yeah. I don't know. It's like the worst of situation comedy and reality TV. God. All right. Well, today we usually visit with Chris Reeves, but there are massive power outages all across Kansas and the region out there. Like thunderstorms. It's that kind of season now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So in his stead, we will go over yesterday's court decision that allows the Trump and Kobach Election Commission to continue collecting voting data, which means data on you and what you do for future reprisals. And I don't know, maybe there's a soccer stadium or, I don't know, equivalent structure to house you in and for the interrogations.
Yeah.
Avenge me, boys! Avenge me! Trump's approval numbers are down in Kansas, but they're up in Montana. And that's where the nuclear missile silos are, or used to be. Maybe they still are. If they used to be, they still are, technically, right? I mean, once they're there,
question. Yeah, they don't move them.
Even though they may not be there, they're still there.
Yeah.
Oh, and Sinclair Broadcasting is not your grandfather's propaganda outlet. Oh, no, it just might be your great-grandfather's Hearst-owned yellow sheet journalism propaganda, let me tell you. Yeah, you get to a point where you don't teach history, but you remember it. I'm sorry. All that, plus the Connect Unite Act Daily Codes community calendar, and there's always more on the after show with that ever so fine fellow over there on the East Coast. His name is Wink. This guy on the West Coast, my name is Justice, and hey, we're just coastal elites, but not your common coastal elite. We are uncommonly exceptional coastal elites. And we do this 5 days a week for an hour-ish in this particular specific and always peculiar tear in the fabric of space-time. Because who loves your baby? Oh, and one other thing. That's what Columbus said. One other thing. And then you just leave that there.
Yeah.
Okay, shtick is done. I guess. Oh my God. Oh, so Trump numbers are down. What's your, you get out and about. What's your anecdotal experience? Are they questioning this guy? Are they thinking, what the hell have we got? Oh, they love him, right?
Yeah. New York 21. Yeah, they love him. Yeah.
Oh man, I keep saying, sure, I maybe his numbers are down because there's a lot more of us, right?
Yeah.
But I got to tell you. 30 to 33%, that's a sizable raw number. That's millions of people.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Tens of millions? Million.
Yeah.
It's certainly,
It's enough where they can. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if they all decide to group up and come down your main street or main avenue, it might be a little intimidating.
Right.
On some crystal night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, that can sway opinion because it looks like it's a lot, right? Especially when it's so massively visible. Yeah, Trump has decided to use his appearance at the Boy Scouts. You got the picture of him at the podium, looking over him out to this massive Trump Jungen. USA, as his Twitter background thing.
Yeah.
Which I think, and it was brought up on David's show, I'm pretty sure that's a violation of the Boy Scout code and rule book and all that. But we'll see. All I'm saying is that, I'm sure there are some people who brought that up when, the Boy Scouts in Germany decided to become, the Nazi youth.
Right.
So, and it wasn't just them, I mean, it was all sorts. You had Lederhosen clubs everywhere, right? And the Lederhosen club said, "Oh yeah, this sounds like pretty good fun. Look, I mean, our Lederhosen is made like totally for goose stepping. Look at this. You can see our knees."
Heck yeah.
So, I don't know. Cultural determinants. Look it up. Cultural determinants. All right. Kill the messenger. Where have we heard that before? Unbelievable. And this is what gets me. Is that people should know this. I mean, is killing the messenger something new? No. I got to tell you, Shakespeare didn't make this stuff up. He wrote about it because it had been in place since even before the Roman times. Greeks. The Phoenicians were killing the messenger. Okay, this is by Ian Millhiser, Justice Editor at Think Progress. Well, I think we would call him the constitutional law expert to be, precise.
Yeah.
The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office has been a constant thorn in the side of congressional Republicans, repeatedly pointing out that Trump Care would have a disastrous impact on the American health care system. Well, the most recent version of Trump Care, according to the CBO, would strip 22 million people of coverage by 2026. Now, in an apparent response to this political black eye, 4 Republican congressmen introduced legislation yesterday that would eliminate the CBO's budget analysis division, thereby reducing the office's staff by 89 employees. And you know how they work. They always round up. And you think they're going to round up to 90. No, it's going to be 100, 200. 200's a nice round number. Let's do that. And you look around and say, well, wait a second. There's like only 2 people left here. Yeah, they can do the job. I mean, what's it take to count?
Yeah.
Morgan Griffin of Virginia, the Mema's lead sponsor, claims the CBO too often releases inaccurate predictions. Like the time it overestimated the millions, by millions, the number of people who would enroll in the Obama exchanges. And then when, the congressional Republicans in both the Congress and, both the House and the Senate, defunded the whole thing, and insurance companies, dropped out, and states then decided, well, what? There's a black guy trying to get something. We can't have that. Do you know where we are? Now, come on, give me my peach. Move the kudzu. And just, you stay over there, Mr. Black Man. Remember that? And so, they overestimated by millions because they had no idea that there would be a concerted strategic effort by the Republican Party and their cronies, their fellow travelers, wherever they may be. I don't know. Maybe some of them were speaking Cyrillic. I don't know. That's why they overestimated by millions, because they didn't think the states would have a concerted effort to make it impossible for the exchanges to exist in their state. And then there was like, okay, we'll put them in the individual market, and then we'll defund that too. That's like a mob enterprise. We were making these comments about the Republicans running it like a mob enterprise before this guy got in.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Which always makes me think, they soften you up, right, over time. I mean, does anyone really think that, all those spy shows in the 60s was, just spontaneously arose? They were softening us up. Come on. So it'd be easier to have a camera on every cross street.
Oh, yeah.
Facial recognition. Oh, let's do it with heat resonant imagery right through the real roof so we can recognize your face. I like the idea that could be. Not to get into the tinfoil hat stuff, but still. Okay, so these fools, create a problem. They're all part of this, Wink. Let's defund it. Let's make it impossible. And then we'll show that, he promised that we racists would stop being racist, and he didn't keep his promise. See, we're still racist. I'm serious. I hear that a lot. He promised that we would, get along because we're Americans. No. All right. Well, okay. Everybody knows the CBO is out there to make the Republicans look bad.
Yeah.
The Republicans wouldn't look bad if they didn't have such bad, legislation. I mean, let's be clear. Come on. Well, this is next story is a setback for the electronic freedom frontier, and I believe also the ACLU. This is by Esther Ushi-Lay. Okay, local law enforcement officials in Massachusetts do. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not. I'm sorry. This is actually a advantage. This is the story about Massachusetts can't detain immigrants. That because what they're doing is that, okay, you get picked up for, I don't know, say jaywalking, or not complying with the arbitrary edict of a plainclothes police officer you didn't know was plainclothes, and you said leave me alone, and that was resisting arrest, so they had to bring you in, right? And then you just happen to maybe be ethnic. So they'll just detain you past the time that they would normally do. I think it's 48 hours before they got to let you go. And the Trump administration and Sessions, all those people go, look, we have some ready-made Gestapo everywhere. And actually, we gave them tanks. Some of them still have them. Think of it that way. Jesus. And so people are being held beyond their constitutionally guaranteed right to be held, detained. And that they call it the Supreme Judicial Court, their Supreme Court in Massachusetts, because they're a Commonwealth, right? So they name things differently. What is it like in a Commonwealth? What's the county called? Is that?
Yeah, I think there's still counties. I think.
Okay. Yeah. There's something else that's a little bit different.
There's a lot of different names. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff, yeah.
And but regardless, local law enforcement, meaning all the way from the state level down to your local guy hiding behind the billboard, for a speed trap to catch speeders.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like a one-man operation in these little hamlets, right? Right down to there. The old adage, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Right? Give a rat a cookie, they want a glass of milk. All of that. When you give authority a little bit, they're always going to want to push it, right? And the reason we have these checks and balances is to keep that in check and in balance. So the Supreme Court said, no, you cannot do that. If the federal government wants these people, they have to present a specific warrant and a charge on this particular individual and what it is they need to be detained until the feds come and do whatever they're doing. Otherwise, in this country, we let them go. So that's the gist of it. A rejection of anti-immigrant policies. Well, we'll see how long that lasts. You never know. Sessions may say, hey, I'll do whatever you want, boss. Though Trump, I think, really wants him out so that he can find somebody that he can fire Mueller over. I don't know. I don't know how that works. Because then some other things get put into play. We actually have a very intricate system that's apparently too complex for this great mind to comprehend.
Right.
But, he didn't take any civics classes. He didn't need to. That's for little people. Governments. I don't deal with I'm not smaller than a government. All right. Well, Travis Getty's penned this article. Sarah Huckabee Sanders admitted that Jeff Sessions has likely doomed himself as Attorney General by recusing himself from overseeing the Russia probe he's been implicated in. Now, I got to tell you, this is like the first mistake and misreading of how our government works by a guy who obviously learned it from the FSB. What the KGB is called now. The crash courses they give their Russian assets so they can come to America and sort of move around, but they're still really, you put on the special sunglasses and you see exactly what they look like. And this is one of these little things, it doesn't make any sense. I thought this guy was born in New York, Wink. I thought he was educated, whether he, actually took the time to get educated. Right. I thought he went to these prestigious schools. And I mean, everything I get is this Reader's Digest, not even the Reader's Digest version of American civics. Doesn't this guy know that the Justice Department is not the president's personal lawyer and the FBI is not his personal, police force or guard or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
They're put there specifically to have a separation from the executive, to keep a check and balance on the executive. But I don't know. Sounds to me like they got the Reader's Digest version and they didn't get that part in the condensed version. Well, he's been lashing out at Attorney General Sessions, and I would lash out at him too. But I say all of them have to go. It's just me. I'm a romantic. Well, of course, Sanders, Huckabee Sanders, stopped short of saying that Trump would fire Sessions for recusing himself. This is obstruction of justice. And we have like a Vichy Republican Congress. They can't find it within themselves to... Okay. I could go on. All right. Trump has made clear that Sessions must launch an investigation of Hillary Clinton and her family if he wants to stay on as Attorney General, which Huckabee Sanders justified as proper. I don't think the president has ever sent mixed signals on how he feels about all of the improper actions that the Clintons took and certainly were involved in over the course of several years. And I think he is getting hit every single day on a ridiculous witch hunt that has proved nothing. What? Deutsche Bank has to give up their records. Come on, give me an effing break. Nothing? We have real estate transaction records. Nothing? Well, of course, if you're playing to your base, how would they know? I think there's some real, I think hard facts to look at when it comes to the Clintons, and I think that that's been completely ignored. The president's looking for a fair playing field on that front. Yeah, the Democrats are obstructionists. It's a witch hunt. Shutting down government to go after this witch hunt. What was effing Benghazi? It was a nothing.
Yep.
And they used it for their political stuff, and then they count on American amnesia so that they can say, oh, woe is me. Look at those terrible liberals. They're going to kill you in your sleep if you don't let us, take all your rights away. All right, let's get to our Jim Hightower break. We'll come back and go through the Connect, Unite, Act Daily Coast community calendar and, I don't know, maybe a little bit of Midwestern news and local media takeover. You're listening to the After Show on Netroots Radio with Wink and Justice, and we will be right back.
Often, when world powers pick fights with seemingly powerless countries, they learn that even small dogs have sharp teeth, as President Trump is finding out in his ill-fated war with Mexico. His scheme to wall off Mexico is collapsing because most people here in the U.S. think it's stupid. Some 2/3 of the public say they just won't buy his $21 billion boondoggle. But Mexicans are the ones blunting Trump's other major attack on them, an attempt to slap a 20% border tax on products shipped into the U.S. Nobody knows more about trade than me, the Donald crowed during his presidential run. Narcissistic hyperbole aside, it turns out that Mexican farmers do know a lot more about corn than he does, and they know that a lot of U.S.-Mexico trade consists of corn. Until NAFTA, Mexico was a corn exporter, but such grain trading giants as Cargill wrote provisions into NAFTA to rig the rules to let them grab Mexico's corn market. This drove hundreds of thousands of Mexican producers out of business and made Mexico, where corn originated, dependent on imports from the U.S. But now, Mexicans are turning that imported corn into a political weapon against Trump's trade bluster. Rather than buy from the U.S., they're negotiating to import corn from Brazil. And even more significant, they're planning to invest in their own farmers to make Mexico self-sufficient again in this important crop. Their counteroffensive has caused apoplexy among congressional Republicans from the U.S. Corn Belt. About 75% of Iowa's corn, for example, goes to Mexico, and losing that market would devastate Iowa's economy. This is Jim Hightower saying, so the little dog bit Trump on the rump, and the big dog has now backed away from his border tax idea, having learned that even farmers know more about trade than he does.
If you'd like more of Jim Hightower's real populism, check out the Hightower Lowdown. Jim's monthly newsletter gives you the real lowdown on which corporations, by name, are doing what to the middle class, our environment, and our democracy. Each month, the Hightower Lowdown brings you facts you didn't know, along with actions you can take to fight back. It also comes with a sense of humor. Hightower believes we can fight the gods and still have fun. Plus, get this, it's cheap. Only $15 brings you 12 issues a year. For real populism, go to hightowerlowdown.org.
grassrootsradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
Okay, we're back.
And indeed, we are back. And thank you for sticking with us. This is the After Show with Wink and Justice. Justice here along the banks of the Rogue River. In the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon on the West Coast. Wink is in upstate New York, 21 on the East Coast. Our crew are the ethereal creatures who reside in the cloud, whose advanced intergalactic technical abilities allow Networks Radio, and thus by extension the After Show, to span the globe, the solar system, out past the Oort cloud, out past the Bridge of Stars, and out past all reasonable human understanding. You think that's the limit of it? No. And beyond that, too. Or as we like to say, and beyond.
Heck yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun if it was true? I keep telling people light can be fiber optics, too. Well, that's what are fiber optics? It's like light through a fiber. So why not just use light as the fiber itself?
Indeed.
I'm sorry, I'm just closing another window because I hear some activity on the other side. I prefer not to be bleeding on in here. Well, today's Connect, Unite, Act Daily Co's Community Diary is facilitated by the fantastic, great, and well-respected and honored cartoonist Eric Lewis. And, wow. And he has he opens up the diary about a story about the 20-year-old Jerry Garcia. So that's great. You know, Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
I told you there's two groups that you want to be careful of, in my experience. You know, when I was coming up, is that you like your regular brown shirts that we know today. You know, you got to be a little careful with them and stuff. They can be a little fervent in their loyalty and desire. But I got to tell you, nothing is the equivalent for the loyalty and fervor that you will get from Deadheads.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yep.
And don't ever say anything bad about Jerry because you think the brown shirts are going to, break a few windows.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, they might break a few windows. The thing about Deadheads is that you look at them and you don't think, what problem could they cause? Yeah, well, they'll come after you. And I usually figure that, if it doesn't work out being a deadhead, they could be enforcers for the mob. Because they'll break your leg if you say something wrong about Jerry.
There you go.
I learned my lesson. Yeah, when Garcia had, his diabetes problem in the mid 80s, and it was really it's not to say that I didn't like the Grateful Dead. I love the Grateful Dead. It's sort of like the old misattributed quote to Gandhi. When he was asked about Christianity and Jesus. Oh, I love your Jesus, but your Christians, I don't know. I can leave them. That's kind of a made up quote, right?
Yeah.
And but it applied somewhat to the Grateful Dead. I appreciated the Grateful Dead's music. I loved the scope and the vastness of it and the technical abilities, and I like the Dead. But I wasn't really into following a band around, that kind of thing. It seemed like counter to what rock and roll was.
Right.
But good for the pocketbook. I mean, especially when no major labels, going to do anything for you. So the Dead pioneered that do-it-yourself punk ethos.
No question about it. Yep.
But in the 80s, when he had, a major diabetes problem, and tragically, he was in a diabetic coma for a number of months, and a lot of people thought he was checking out then. And I made the bad mistake, had a bunch of Deadheads staying at the place that we were at. I lived in a big collective household. And somebody said, Somebody said, yeah, Jerry's in a diabetic coma. And I said, yeah, some of us think he's been in a diabetic coma for the last 15 years. Oh, man.
Wow. Yeah.
You think they're nonviolent, pacifists, and they're only eating vegetarian food, so there's not anything behind them, No meat. Yeah, boy. If it was just one, it would have been okay. But there were several that were quite irate. And so much so that I had to leave my own house and go outside because everybody else felt a little too threatened because, things need to be de-escalated and they weren't leaving.
Right.
So let's just say I learned then maybe it's wise to pick your battles. Especially when you didn't even know that there was going to be a battle. You're just making a joke. Yep. Okay. Well, I actually like Jerry Garcia's work when he did bluegrass stuff, like Old and in the Way.
Yep.
That time. Actually, really appreciated that work. But okay, Broke Down Palace, and that plays sometimes on rotation here on Netroots Radio.
Yeah.
Okay, Daily Coast Cheers and Cheers annual dinner Wednesday, August 9th, 5:30 p.m. at Netroots Nation. The night before at White Oak Kitchen and Cocktails, 270 Peachtree Street in Atlanta. Cosmail Navajo to attend that event. RSVP. Boy, they just keeps growing. They're going to need more than one table. We can keep telling everybody.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Daily Coast Caucus will have their Ask Me Anything about Daily Coast Thursday afternoon, the beginning of Netroots Nation, of course, August 10th, 2:30 p.m. in the Piedmont Room. Session led by Nita Lind. We know her as Navajo as well. Daily Coast Director of Community President Will Rockefeller. And I got to tell you, all the usual suspects will be there to, answer your questions. Daily Coast Asheville Summer Summit Meetup, August 12th at Mount Mitchell State Park. That's located at 2388 State Highway 128 in Burnsville, North Carolina. Send Randall to Cosmail to attend that event. And Incite Us Data and Democracy 2018 Conference, Saturday, September 23rd, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The PSI Theater at Durham Arts Council, 120 Morris Street in Durham. And you want to Cosmail Doc Dog, who is the organizer of that upcoming event. And Triangle Cosmopolitans, a North Carolina Daily Coast group. Triangle Cosmopolitans are invited to attend, just so you know, for the Incite Us Conference. So get a hold of Doc Dog to attend that event. And that is your Connect, Unite, Act Daily Coast community calendar for the 25th of July. Oh, my God.
Yeah, hate to see it go.
I'm just thinking that, we're, before we were on the cusp, what is it, Gemini and Leo? Boy, I'm going to get in trouble here. But regardless, we're like, we're getting into full maned Leo. Okay. All right. I suppose if the important women in my life hadn't been Leos, it wouldn't be such an issue. Remember the thing I was talking about, muscle memory? Certain times of the year, kind of like, And it's funny how birthdays, never leave your brain.
Right.
A lot of birthdays coming up right now. In my immediate family, it's May.
Yep.
I mean, May is like every day is chock full of May birthdays in my family, But with girlfriends and wives, it's July. Alrighty. Okay, well, Chris Reeves. Oh, I should mention that it's not just power outages that Chris Reeves is experiencing. That isn't really the reason why we can't communicate with him, because, he's mobile, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But he's actually delivering food, water, and supplies to people who are without power, and their food and water and supplies are going bad. People who aren't so ambulatory.
Right.
Or even to the point where people can't even get in, don't have a vehicle that runs or whatever.
Right, exactly.
So Chris is out there essentially doing Red Cross rescue mission work. And he's a little preoccupied. I think, if you're holding the cell phone up on your shoulder, I don't know. He's got a hand-free device, right? We know that.
Yep.
But I'm not going to interview Chris and ask him these questions while he's carrying boxes of food, water, and supplies back and forth.
Heck yeah.
Come on. And he thought so, too. In fact, he brought it up. And I concurred. But we're going to go over some things I was interested in anyway. Because he's been pretty busy just generally, even before, these outages caused by the weather, of course.
He's one of the busiest men in the Democratic Party, without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. Well. U.S. judge allows Trump Election Commission to seek voting data. And this is a story out of Reuters by Lawrence Hurley. U.S. judge yesterday rejected a bid to, and this is actually the story that's a setback for the Electronic Privacy Information Center. I actually call it Electronic Freedom Frontier, but that was mistaken. It's EPIC, Electronic Privacy Information Center. A watchdog group had filed a lawsuit challenging the commission's actions to collect willy-nilly everybody's voting data. And U.S. District Judge, Washington-based U.S. District Judge Colleen Collar-Codley, a very familiar name, ruled in favor of the administration by refusing to block the administration from asking for the data.
That's amazing.
Now, she did say, the states don't have to, answer. But, they're just asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, studies have shown that voter fraud is rare in U.S. elections, and that's what this commission is about. They're looking for millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of illegal votes that went to Hillary instead of Trump because they should have all gone to Trump. The Russians said so. They had meetings about it. They can't tell the people even. So many meetings they can't tell. Oh, did you hear that after Jared was out at the podium? The son-in-law. He doesn't even have like a really official thing, right?
Right.
Like a volunteer.
Yep.
Out there past the Oval Office in the little thing there where they give their press conferences. You know what he did right after he gave that press conference? Said, I've given you everything. I've always told the truth. You know what he did? He had to add on another couple of meetings and Russians he forgot about.
Oh, yeah.
Just keeps growing. Before he had that press conference, he was already up to 100 that he had forgotten about. 100!
Yeah, it slipped his mind. So.
Yeah, and $1 billion in loans. That can slip your mind too.
Yeah.
It could. Well, Trump, who set up the commission by executive order, charged without evidence last year that millions voted unlawfully in the November presidential election. He won the Electoral College, which tallies wins and states and determines the presidential winner, but he lost the popular vote. And Collar-Codley said EPIC did not have grounds for an injunction in part because the collection of data by the commission, chaired by Mike Pence, by the BP, was not technically an action by a government agency. So it was not bound by laws that govern what such entities can do. I don't know. My middle name is Justice. But of course, my first name is Royal. Roy for short, but Royal. So maybe my decision on this would be, colored by the royal justice part.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to figure out the other justice part that says when the vice president is head of a commission, that's not a government entity. Sounds to me like the executive's involved in this. But that's my royal justice reading of it, apparently. Because whatever this other justice thing, I don't know, maybe it actually, the reason royal, because maybe I'm a bulwark against the idea of royal justice. Because I see it, I know it when I see it. And it sounds to me like they're doing more of the royal justice than, what our representative Democratic Republic is usually allows. And she also pointed out that the commission was an advisory body that does not have legal authority to compel states to hand over the data, except for, a bunch of brown shirts going up and saying, what are you afraid of? Banging on windows. I'm serious. That's what's happening, Link.
Not good.
Panel, which met for the first time last week, ran headlong into controversy when its chair, Chris Kobach, Secretary of State for Kansas and a high-profile advocate, he's also running for governor there, of course, high-profile advocate of tougher laws on immigration and voter identification, asked states to turn over the voter information. We'll make you an offer you can't refuse. Of course, the data included names, last 4 digits of your social security number, addresses, birth dates, political affiliation, felony convictions, and voting histories. Oh, you voted Democrat, and you want to bring a charge against the President of the United States. Some states refused, and others said they, needed time to study whether they could provide the data. Okay. Do we want to be Nazis, or do we not want to be Nazis? I suppose that's what it really comes down to. And that might take a little bit of time to decide for some states.
Right.
I'd like to track that and see what the ratio of homeschooling there is to the level of acceptance of becoming Nazis.
Yeah, be a good study.
Okay. This is out of the International Business Times, a known liberal paper. Considering a free enterprise, Wink.
Right.
And, capitalism by its very nature is, a monopoly, and we want dictatorships. Free enterprise, competition. What kind of commie thing are you? Joe DeFazio penned this. Donald Trump's... Oh, he uses the P word, of course, in the Netroots Radio style manual.
Yeah.
The P word is not used as an honorific for this guy in the White House. I still like to call Obama president. Because he is still. That's the honorific. He's still president. Okay, Donald Trump's approval ratings have gone down since November when he was elected. His approval rating in 47 states is now lower than the percentage of people that voted for him. Wow. According to new data released by Gallup polling on Monday, another known liberal group who's never manipulated numbers for, Republican types. Well, they didn't really manipulate numbers. What they do is they have these shitty questions that lead people into a number. So I'm just saying that, they've been the lapdog for Republican interests for a while. So this is interesting. Montana is a state with one of Trump's highest approval ratings at 56%. And Hawaii is the lowest with only 35%. Wow. See, you can't get past that 30, 35%. No matter where you are, there's going to be always a third of the most crazy asses. Just totally crazy. And that's an insult to, people who I guess might be clinically charged as being crazy. And I apologize for that. We got to come up with another term for the, the mental limitations of this particular personage in the White House.
Yeah.
Trump's approval rating was over 50% in 17 states. 6 states gave Trump an approval rating of 55%. Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, Alabama, West Virginia. God, we can make a little marching goose-stepping march out of that, Wink.
Heck yeah.
I don't know. With really, what would make it American, though, is that you have a little do-si-do and kind of do a spin right in the middle of it and then start over again.
Yeah.
In 31 states, disapproval of Trump's performance was higher than his approval rating. Well, his total overall approval rating as of Sunday was down to just 37%, with 58% of people polling disapproving of his performance, according to Gallup. Well, at this time in Barack Obama's presidency, he was polling at 56%. And George Bush was also at 56%. You know, it's weird because I remember at this time in Bush's, tenure, it was just starting and things were collapsing all around him. I mean, this is July, right?
Right.
Towards the end of July. I remember, man, thinking, wow, well, I sure hope there's not a wag the dog thing, you know?
Right.
And there's already some rumblings. In fact, I think it's just going to be a couple of weeks to the anniversary of the cannonading of the Buddhas of Binyam. The Taliban used giant cannons and 50 caliber projectiles to destroy these 4,500, 4,000-year-old statues or bas reliefs carved into the side of this canyon in Afghanistan. And I remember thinking, I don't know, if it's for art, I think that we ought to send the troops in.
Yeah.
I'm serious. The Taliban should have been taken out when they cannonaded the Buddhas of Binyam. Well, not because of a religious thing, but because it was art.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, if there's any reason to go to war, it's got to be for art. All other reasons, I don't know. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Lowbrow. Really is. Lowbrow. We should do something exalted. Go to war for art. But we never do. And so at 56% approval rating, I don't remember that. I just remember that people were saying, wow, we're losing jobs and, you know, housing's like sucking right now. And, you know, and then just a couple of months later, everything changed. Okay, Trump's okay. So then this particular article in International Business Times goes into a synopsis of all of Trump's woes and legal issues he is dealing with, and his family too. All right, you know what? We are going to go over the Sinclair Broadcasting propaganda list and comparison with the Hearthstone papers of yore. Maybe we'll do that Friday, when we have a little bit more time as more of a anything goes thing. Yep. But we have really reached the end of our broadcasting period, well into the buffer time today allotted to us. So we will have Russian Red, Just Like a Wall, playing in the interim before Hartman coming up about 6 minutes after the hour. And Randy Rhodes coming up at 1 p.m. on the West Coast, 4 p.m. on the East Coast. Stay tuned. Buy a stinking podcast. Do your homework. Yeah. And we'll probably be finding out about how things are going with the healthcare debate and potential vote, if it hasn't already happened. Oh, my God.
Right.
All right. We'll be back here bright and bushy tomorrow. And so continue listening to That Roots Radio 24/7, 365. Why? Because who loves you, baby? And wink, I will see you on the other side.
All right. We're out.